Today we're going to learn the absolute basics of a crochet form called Amigurumi. You guys may have heard of this before. Amigurumi is used to create three-dimensional stuffed crochet sculptures, kind of like this. So the most basic form of this is literally just a sphere, and that teaches you really everything that you need to know. Everything that is created with these is just a variation of that basic concept. So that is what we're going to practice today. For supplies, you're going to need 20 yards of yarn, a 3.75 millimeter crochet hook, a paper clip, we will use this as a stitch marker, scissors, and some stuffing. Step 1, magic circle. For the first step, we will need to create what is called the magic circle, because when we look at the pattern, the first round says to magic circle 6. To do this, take your left hand and create the old finger gun like so. Then, take the tail of your yarn and drape it over your fingers like this. From here, we will take the yarn, wrap it around, crossing over, and turn over our hand like this. You should have 2 bars of yarn facing you at this point. Go beneath these two with the crochet hook, grab this yarn, pull it beneath like so, yarn over, and pull through. Then we will take our fingers out. What you should have now looks like this. The hook is here, there's a little twist at the bottom, and a regular line up top. This is the magic circle that we will go back into. The way that you should think about it is this is the portal right here, and the yarn floating beyond is what we are pulling through the portal. And that is the yarn that is attached to the ball. Go through the portal with the hook, yarn over, pull through the portal. At this point you will have 2 loops on the hook. Then you yarn over and pull through 2. This constitutes the first stitch. For this pattern we can see round 1 calls for a magic circle of 6 stitches. So we will repeat this process 5 more times. Again, we go into the portal, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through 2. Once you get to this point, you should count just to double check that you have 6 stitches. A stitch is one of these little V's. To turn this into a circle, the last thing that we will do is unravel this string down here, hold on to the line of stitches, and pull this relatively tight. We now have our stitches going all along the outside ring of the circle. So here we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If we look at the pattern, this accounts for the first row. Another word on the pattern, this number right here in parentheses represents the number of stitches that you should have at the end of a row. So for row 1, it should be 6. Since we have that step complete, go ahead and place a check mark next to that row. In the next step, we are going to double the number of stitches. As you can see, we are increasing from 6 stitches to 12 stitches. Step 2, increasing. For this step, we will be placing 2 single crochets into each stitch to make our circle bigger. To start off, we will place the paper clip stitch marker on the loop on the hook. Then, we will take the hook, go into the stitch, so beneath both bars of this little V, drape the yarn over the hook, pull through, then yarn over again, and pull through 2. Since we are increasing in each stitch, rather than moving on to the next stitch here, we will go back into the stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and pull through again. So before moving on, if we count so far, we can see that we have 1, 2 stitches. So as we go, we will add 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, 12 before finishing this row. So in the next stitch again, we go into the stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Then again into that stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Once we reach the end, I like to count to make sure that I have all 12 stitches. As you saw before, we always start counting the stitches in the row from the stitch which has the stitch marker on it. So here, I do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 stitches. If you don't have 12 stitches, you can pull back to the marker and do the round again without completely starting over. I generally like to count after each round to make sure that it is exactly right. So round 2 is complete and I have my 12 stitches, so I cross that off. Round 3, we do things a bit different. We are still increasing, but as you can see here, we are only doing an increase every other stitch. So to start round 3, we will move the stitch marker to the loop on the hook. Then we will go into the first stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. So in the next stitch again, we go into the stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Then again into that stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. And we repeat that alternating increase until the end. If during this row you forget if it is supposed to be a single crochet or an increase, I like to count 1, increase, 1, increase. That way I know the next stitch in this case will be 1 single crochet. At the end of this row, we should have 18, so we count to see, and sure enough, we have it, so we put a check mark next to that row. Step 3, straightaway. This part is really easy. We're literally just putting a single crochet into each stitch for 3 rows. So we move the stitch marker to the loop on the hook, go into the first stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and then we go on to the next stitch and do the same. As you can see on this section, since we're not increasing, the number of stitches doesn't go up. So I would make sure to count at the end of each row just to make sure that you're not accidentally increasing or missing any stitches. Also, you always want to do this, but make sure to check off each row as you go to make sure that you know exactly which of the 3 you are on. When the circle starts to close in on itself like this, make sure that you have it turned so that the bumpier side is facing out and the stitches are very visible. This makes it way easier and is the side that is supposed to be showing. So after this last row of the straightaway, we can see we now have something that looks like a small bowl. Now we are ready to begin the decreases. Step 4, decreasing. In these last 2 rows, we are going to decrease to finish off and form our sphere. These decreases mirror the first 2 rows of the increase. So the last increase we did to get to 18 was an increase every other stitch. Here, we will do a decrease every other stitch to get back from 18 back down to 12. So we begin as always by moving the stitch marker over to the loop on the hook. Then we do 1 regular single crochet, next we do the decrease. So here we will go into the front loop of this stitch and then the next stitch as well. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. What we have just done is consolidated 2 stitches down to 1 stitch. Then we will do a single crochet in the next stitch, then after that we do the decrease again. So front loop of this stitch, front loop of the next stitch, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That pattern repeats until the end of the row, so make sure that you have 12 stitches and then check the row off. Now at this point we do need to stuff it before doing our last row of decreases, which will seal off this hole. So get your polyfill stuffing and add it in to make it as squishy or as firm as you are wanting. For the last row of decreases, you will move the stitch marker over and then decrease in every single stitch the same way by grabbing the front 2 loops, yarning over, pulling through 2, yarning over and pulling through 2. Now when you reach the end of this, you will be back to 6 stitches. Step 5, fastening off. Now this step is pretty simple. First, we cut the yarn attached to the ball, leaving about a 5-inch tail. Then we pull up the hook to make this hole a bit larger. Then we thread the tapestry needle with this tail and go through the loop we just widened and pull tight. To weave in the end and close up this hole, I just go across sort of into those stitches back and forth until the hole is all sealed up. So there's no exact science to that really. I pull the string through the ball, I cut the remaining yarn, and I give the ball a little squish so that the tail disappears back into the ball. So once you're done with this, you'll know everything that you need to know foundationally for how to do amigurumi. And after all this is finished, you make sure you take a picture of it, put it on canvas. Next time, we're going to apply this by making an actual creature.